This episode is brought to you by HighSpots.com. HighSpots.com is the leading provider of professional wrestling and mixed martial arts merchandise. From wrestling boots to wrestling DVDs, wrestling action figures to title belts, HighSpots.com has the largest selection of wrestling merchandise. Go there right now with our link, tinyurl.com/STS HighSpots. STSHIGHSPOTS. Shop there with that link. It won't cost you any extra, but it will help support this podcast.
It's part of our Let's Talk Shiznit on the Dirt Sheet series with my old buddy John Gallagher. Here's a clip. Listen to the show. Download it. Download it now. Go ahead, download it.
Monday morning, I had to call with sales figures, and I got a hold of a lady down there that answered the phone. She was a big wrestling fan, and she went to the Omni seemed like it was weekly. And she would tell me the results. And I thought, I'll bet there are a lot of people around the United States like me who would like to know those results, but there's no way to get them. I mean, the After magazines come out 6 weeks after something happens. They never mention it on TV. So I thought if I could put together this cheap newsletter and send it out to fans across the country, we'd tell them what was going on, and we'd include the other promotions as well. At that time, Norman Keatzer was writing a magazine called, I think it was Wrestling Review or Wrestling News.
Right, it was. Yeah, I remember Wrestling Review and Wrestling News, but yeah, I think it had everything was black and white in it, and there was just tons of news. I mean, tons of news from everywhere, and I always had was this the magazine that, like, if I got it on the Memphis gimmick table, it would have Memphis wrestlers on it? I think that's the way it worked.
That's it.
And then if it was in up north, it would have, it's like San Martino on it or something like that. Exactly.
He was out of Mankato, Minnesota, and he had a little blurb in there once.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Let's start the party.
From STS Studios in St. Louis, Missouri. That's right. This is episode 100. A big shout out, thank you to you, the listeners. This is the first time you've listened. You can go to www.stspod.club. All the archives are there. We also want to thank Bob McGee at Pro Wrestling's Between the Sheets, www.pwbts.com. Locals to Legends, Gene Jackson at www.localstolegends.com. Sharon Garmer over at W2mnet.com. Thank you guys for promoting the episodes. Remember, guys, you can reach me at Comic Book Mark BT. I'm at Shootin The Shiznit on Instagram. The Comic Book Mark BT's Twitter. We have a Facebook group. It's called Cool Kids MMA Wrestling and MMA Facebook group. You guys can join that. If you act crazy, we'll kick you out. There is a Facebook page for Shootin The Shiznit with all the episodes up there. You can listen to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Player FM, Pod Paradise, Spreaker, a little bit of AM radio if you tune it just right. A big shout out to Suplex City Limits, Creative Control, Who's Right Podcast, and my buddies over there at P3 Radio. Now, let's get on. Jeff, how long has it been since we talked?
Appreciate you having me on, but I want to know, how long has it been? But almost as importantly as that question, when was the first time we spoke to one another? That may be.
Yeah, I mean,
now, so I've already turned the tables on you. Now I'm interviewing you, Brian. So roll with it.
Well, the first time we met had to be Jonesboro, Arkansas. In the dressing room, I always came. Either I would come to the back to talk to the king, or Dutch would bring me from. He would stay at my apartment for a little bit, and then we would go to the matches. I'd come through the dressing room, and you'd say hi and everything. Matter of fact, it goes back further than that. We met when a group of guys from Philadelphia came, and I was on the bus with them. and we run the circuit with you guys. I don't know if you remember that or not.
I remember that. Dennis Carluzza. Oh, gosh, what was his name? Anyway, yes, I remember it well. That was like 87, maybe 88.
Yes. And then we haven't spoke since you were in Jonesboro doing a show, and since you went to WWE, I haven't seen you anywhere. It's just weird that we hadn't run into each other. But I know you don't remember this, but this is hilarious. You were selling the shit out of gimmicks. I mean, just tons of gimmicks, 8x10s, and you name it. And I came up to you and I asked you, I said, how much did you make tonight? And you looked me right in the eye and said, man, that's none of your business. See that, and you promised me that you have never and will never ask the tough question. And there you go. Even back in the day, you were probing to something that had none of your business written all You're
over
right.
it.
It was none of my business, but I was just thinking, man, all these photos he's selling on the gimmicks table. But see, you didn't know I always had a connection with Miss Coffee too. I could have just went to her and asked her. So
and she wouldn't have told you the truth. She didn't know the truth. No, I'm kidding.
So the one reason we got you on here, and I've been chasing you for a couple of months and wanting to get you on here, and then all of a sudden we get this huge news. And I talked to the King one time when he got to WrestleMania. I said, you finally got your WrestleMania moment, how did it feel, kind of thing? And the King said, well, it's just a match, BT, just a match. So I know that's not what you're going to say, but how does it feel when the WWE calls you, and apparently they called you, in January, and said, okay, we're going to put you in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, well, obviously, you've known me almost since day one, so you all that goes into consideration, and I was shocked. It was a surreal moment. I know I've given this answer multiple times, but it's the truth. Very surprised and then very humbled. My family and Brian, 3 generations in the business, and run up and down the roads and lots of towns and then get to WWF and then WCW and then TNA and, still a pretty overwhelmingly humbling feeling. And then, obviously you've been wanting me to do this podcast before the Hall of Fame announcement, but all the media requests and the PR requests, and I really am. I've tried my best to fulfill them all. Just because this is a special month, so to speak, or special couple of months leading up to this. And I appreciate the offers and I am accepting all of these offers when almost all of them. There's very few that and I'm still in the process of rescheduling a few of them. But, when I go out and put my promoter hat on and talk different things over the past few years and as digital media has become so prevalent in our world, not just in the business, it is. And so, you folks have been real good to me. And so now I do get the opportunity to I don't say give back, but to have the opportunity to chat about the Hall of Fame and different questions come up. And obviously me and you will talk about Jonesboro and the area and Front Page Cafe and all those kind of things. But no, it's a unique time, certainly in my career, and something that I'm enjoying.
Awesome. Glad to hear that. Now, have you announced yet, or do you know who you're picking to do your introduction in the Hall of Fame there?
The decision has been made, but par for the course, and how just wonderful they do. WWE rolls it out, who the inductor are going to be, and so. That news will be coming up, and obviously in the next couple of weeks, and I'm pretty excited about it. But it is absolutely the perfect guy, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Awesome. And, I see you going to the Hall of Fame, and a lot of guys that go to the Hall of Fame, we end up seeing that last run or that last big run in the WWE. Me and you pretty much the same age, but Jeff, you've always been in better shape than me, so maybe too many times at the Front Page Cafe, but
there you go.
Would you be ready for that last big run at WWE if they said, okay, we got this plan for you, kind of thing?
I don't really take that into consideration. I've always stayed in shape. I guess you could say it's one of my hobbies. I'm well aware that I'll call it my most productive or best rings in the day, in the ring, are behind me. But like the old Toby Keith song goes, I ain't good as I once was, but I'm good once as I ever was, might be appropriate. So, never say never. I'll just say that.
Awesome. Now, with all the WWE roster right now, I mean, it's got a mix of some of your guys from that you used all the time with TNA, and then, some new guys that you probably have never worked or even looked at. But if you had, if they came to you and you had a choice of the WWE guys right now, and you wanted to make that last angle and do that big last program, who would it be that you would choose to work with?
Oh, see, you're trying to get me to play fantasy booker or something like that. I've never been into that. I do leave it up to you guys, the wrestling fan or the wrestling journalist or the wrestling critic. I think you're all in one, Brian, sort of like myself. I love to be a critic, a journalist, and a fan as well. But no, I don't get into that. I do know that when you look at, and I really call it, the four rosters, Raw, SmackDown, 205 Live, and NXT, man, it's deep. And when it really, really is deep. And then when you take a step back even further and look at CMLL or AAA in Mexico or, NOAH, All Japan, New Japan in Japan wrestling, the hot independent scene in the UK. The wrestling world is very, very rich in talent. So lots and lots of options out there, lots and lots of, we'll call it fantasy booking you could do. But, as you are well aware, coming from the Memphis area, sometimes the best stories write themselves. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
As a booker, though, in the past, as a booker, have you just seen someone that's really, really hot at the time and said, "Hey, we could really do a program with that guy. Me and him fit so good."
Well, that just happens. I mean, some things, sometimes the best things just come out organically, and that's really sort of the essence at times of this industry. Is that when you see things develop, whether it's at a live event or TV or nowadays online, when you see something develop, then you just sort of sharpen up the pencils and sharpen up the focus and make the spotlight go on a talent's strengths and stay away from their weaknesses. And then you have Ali on one side of the ring and Smoking Joe Frazier on the other, or you have the Celtics and the Lakers, or whatever rivalry you want to come up, Red Sox, Yankees. It doesn't matter. When the right rivalry steps in the ring against each other, sometimes it's just magical box office. And so oftentimes over my career, you can either be right in the middle of it or watch it from afar. So you can just look back on wrestling history, and there are times when things just fit and worked.
Amen. Dundee Lawler's one of them. So
there you go. Great example.
Here's something that really fit for you, and it's a question I've wanted to ask you for a long time. And this has, and people are going to say, man, all the time he spent in the TNA and all the time he spent in WWE, and you're going to ask him about Memphis wrestling. But let's go back because, hey, I'm a Memphis wrestling guy, so grew up, been watching since 1978. And this goes back to that Philly group. We were down there, I was down there with those Philly guys, and you were tagging with Billy Travis, and you guys were going against Pat Tanaka and Paul Diamond. And, they all – sometimes, the dance is real good, and sometimes the dance is real bad, and sometimes the dance is the best you've ever seen. And that dance was awesome. I mean, we watched 3 matches back-to-back, 3 nights in a row. You guys knew that you had some smart fans out there, smart, quote-unquote. And,
right. I hear you.
You guys turned it on. It was 3 totally different matches. It was, the last night or the night before the last night, we had breakfast with you two guys, you and Travis. And Travis said, what do you guys want to see for the third night? And we actually said blood. Now, that's the guys from Philadelphia. They want blood, Hey, Philadelphia fans. And Travis went out, did it. We got blood that night. But you guys put on. it was almost like if you want to talk stars, the first night you put a 4-star, next night you put 4.5, and the next night it was 5. I mean, it really was that crazy. What was so good that you tagging with Travis? I know he'd been in the business for a little bit longer, but then you have Pat Tanaka and Paul Diamond on the other side. Why was that so good in the ring? Did you guys just have so good communication, or what was the deal?
Well, and when you look, and this will really, really be hard to explain unless, like, you and me were there to understand it. But, Billy had a real knack for tag team wrestling. I was so young in the business, but I knew my role. All four of us knew our role, and Billy was such a good tag wrestler, and he was a good wrestler, but a very, very good tag wrestler. And, Paul Diamond and Pat Tanaka, they weren't rookies like me by any means. They were very, very good. And all four of us were pretty good athletes, so it was highly athletic for at the time. And things just clicked, and we worked hard. We none of the four of us mind getting out there and getting it done and busting our butts. And we did. All four of us had quite a bit of I'll call it a competitive nature about us. And so when you have that, just like Billy, that I can hear him asking you guys that. I can literally visualize. If I close my eyes, I can see him doing it in a real, I'll call it a cunning way. That he wanted to at least sort of wet y'all's whistle to figure something out what you wanted. But again, it goes back to talent. All three of those guys, very, very talented. That team, Tanaka and Diamond, went on to work for the WWF. So that sort of shows you right there the level, their ability. But we were all four young guys, athletic. Like I said, did mind busting our butt, and we clicked. If you want to say it, that probably at the very top, we could have two single matches, me against Pat or me against Paul, and same with Billy, and it would just click. And I remember that. I think it was Nashville was our fourth and final night, or third and final night. I may be wrong, but
I think you're right. Yeah, we were there in Nashville at that Saturday night, and I think y'all came and ate breakfast that Saturday morning with us. And
if I remember correctly, the third night, and maybe all three, but I remember one of the nights we went 30 or 40 minutes. I think we went quite a while, and that was something that rung true. And I may be remembering too much, but maybe we just went 30, but I know it was a long match, and we let the story be told. And so, it's just, again, one of those nights things clicked.
Yeah, I mean, just I remember that, and we, all the kayfabe sheets picked up everything. We made sure you guys were they're having the best matches in Memphis, Tennessee, and you guys were, Lawler was real open with a lot of stuff, but you guys were. And I guess that helped me be a fan of Jeff Jarrett, from day one. Jeff, man, I know you got plenty of stuff to do, and you're a busy man. It sounds like you're getting ready for another interview there. If I can ask you, I always do a catchphrase for my podcast, but I think it would be best if I could talk you into doing one of the most famous catchphrases ever to end the episode.
What's that, BT?
Is it J.E.? Go ahead, my brother. Go ahead.
Well, I didn't know if you were going to have me tell you to choke on that slap nut or Brian close it out. So far, I appreciate you guys giving me some time, Brian. I'll come back. We can specifically devote it, maybe get Dutch on here and do a little party podcast here. But, folks, I'm going to be signing off, and that's JEFF, JARRE, That's
all right. We want to thank our guest, Jeff Jarrett. Thanks a lot, Jeff. We do appreciate it. Hey, I want to just take a minute and direct you to our new site for T-shirts. It's www.wehavemerch.com. If you go on the site, go to the very left, you'll go to the Shootin The Shiznit store. We have I'm a Shiznitter shirt. We have the Cool Kids Countdown shirt, the original 2017 Shootin The Shiznit shirt. We have that old Dr. X shirt. My Old Buddy, you can get My Old Buddy in multiple colors, being the Shiznit, and also a brand new shirt this week, Happy Shiznit Day. That's right. Happy Shiznit Day. Guys, go to the site. We have up to 6XL. That's right. Up to 6XL. WeHaveMerch.com.
Angle, WWE.
All right, guys. We just got through talking to Jeff Jarrett. I've already got the roundtable here, and we're going to talk about the WWE Hall of Fame. And they're already talking in the background and making a bunch of noise. I've got Brian Thompson here to my right. Brian's a longtime friend and big wrestling fan, and also RCW promoter. He's with TCW for a while. Bobby Eaton's best friend, and he was actually in my wedding. So, hey, there we go. Also, right across from me is JoJo, the producer, Joe Feeney from Keeping It 100 or Creative Control. JoJo's been on here a lot. And my co-host, my cohort, my lover, my friend, Lance LeVine to the left of me.
I'm a little concerned about cohort. That's a little scary, too.
Whoa.
So here's what we're going to do, guys, tonight. This is the 100th episode. We had a little conversation there with Jeff Jarrett. So what we're going to do is he was talking about him going into the Hall of Fame. And I know we read on the message boards or in the groups there, the Facebook groups, about people that should be in the Hall of Fame and people that should not be in the Hall of Fame that are already there. So here we go. I get to pick. Then we're going to talk to Brian, JoJo, and Lance, and we're going to all have our picks here tonight to finish up this episode. 100th episode, guys. 100th episode. So I get to pick first, and the guy that I think should deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, and I know this is not going to surprise anybody when I say this, is Lance Russell. Now, I know Lance Russell wasn't, with the WWE, but is part of the library. He's going to be part of the Memphis library. He's also part of the WCW. Lance, and there's guys that's in the Hall of Fame that had probably less time in the WWE. Lance was, and I hated that he had to die for even them to consider it, which they probably will eventually. But I think Lance deserves the pick for one that's not in there. And the guy that's in there that I'm picking, and believe it or not, he started in Memphis, Tennessee also, is Koko Beware. I really never thought Koko Beware should have been in the Hall of Fame. But when they get someone else in the Hall of Fame and everyone starts bitching about it, I always say, but Koko's in there. And, it always gets me. Koko where, And the funny thing is, since I've been privy to some promoters in the Memphis area, as soon as he got into the Hall of Fame, Koko took it for shoot. He charged almost triple for his appearances to some people. And then he wouldn't wrestle. He would just come to the show and do autographs and stuff. So, I guess that sort of, made me think that he shouldn't be in there if he was going to take advantage of it, All right, Brian Thompson, your turn, my friend.
Oh, I apologize. So, are you going to, you've mentioned both now. I was dreaming of you, Brian Trammell.
Oh,
but
I knew you would be. I said you were in my wedding. I didn't say we got married. God, come on.
You didn't talk about what part. I was in the wedding, the honeymoon, but be that as it may, I don't know. I mean, I have a hard time as an actor or as a performer or whatever in the wrestling business really picking on anybody who is or isn't in the Hall of Fame as far as who shouldn't be in there, because depends on how you look at it. I guess, it seems like Koko gets the bullseye on him because of some of the things you mentioned. But then he was, he had the Pile Driver album and some pretty high mainstream type of things. So I could see why they even, made a little bit of an exception with him. I just kind of think in terms of, I wish there wasn't necessarily that celebrity wing. I don't know that necessarily. I would look at a Hall of Fame. You don't see a celebrity wing of baseball or any other Hall of Fames out there. So I would think that I'm aware of. That's kind of what does that do for to me, it should be for workers, managers, announcers, wrestlers, promoters, anybody that's actually active in the wrestling business. So I'll do the PC answer right there on that one. As far as who should be in the Hall of Fame, I mean, I'm gonna give my second, because obviously I'm a little biased, and of course until they're in there, I will always say the Midnight Express. But I'm gonna throw it a different direction and say one that surprises me and I think should be in there is Ivan Koloff. I mean, here's a guy that ended Bruno's reign. That's number one. Number two, of course, just the career he had in general. But the fact that he had a run up there and was a world champion for the WWF at the time. It surprises me that they didn't do that. And I think it's a shame, because I heard that he really wanted the honor and obviously didn't get it before he passed. I was fortunate to meet him about a year before he passed away, so would have liked to have seen that have happened during his life, kind of like you mentioned about Lance Russell. Some of these guys that deserve that honor, and it seems like we don't get it until after the fact, so it doesn't have quite the same luster as if it would have happened during their life. So that's mine.
All right, Brian Thompson. Okay, Brian, give us where can we get you on Facebook, Twitter, whatever. Go ahead and plug your shit before we get on.
The RCW, everything is at RCW Ringside, rcwringside.com, at RCW Ringside on Twitter, and then Facebook.com/RCW Ringside.
There we go. Now we got JoJo Feeney. JoJo, I know you're going to pick on a certain race of people, probably. I know how you are. I always thought you were down with the Brown, but, I can just feel it coming. So, JoJo Feeney, go ahead and tell us, who do you pick shouldn't be in there, and who should?
Well, of course, to start, who should be pulled out and just erased so I don't have to deal with their offspring. Many members of this, I don't know, what do they call it, a dynasty or something. Pull the Wild Samoans out. They're killing me. Their family's killing me. There's a Samoan conspiracy going on, and I've about just had it up to here with it. So just erase them. Go back. Take the DeLorean back, 30, 40 years, and just erase them before they're ever even in the Hall of Fame.
Wow. So I actually talked to, and this is probably why I like the Samoans so much. I actually talked to Sika one time for over an hour and a half, and him telling me about the Usos Performance Center, Everett Training Center, and all that. A super nice guy. I think you're just. I just think it's because you hate Roman Reigns so much, But
you
go ahead.
You don't know him well, then, because don't tell him I said anything like that, please. I don't want a bunch of wild.
Does that mean The Rock is erased too?
He's erased. He's a terrible actor. I hate all his films. He's very droll.
Wow.
Well, and who I would put in, you know what? Go a little. It's not that new, but a little bit newer, late '80s. I would go with Demolition. Demolition, not in the Hall of Fame. Apparently, I think we all have heard. Bill Eadie had a lawsuit with him in the early '90s and stuff. Might have put him on that list. That we'll never see that happen. But when I was a kid, I was a WWF kid. So to me, Demolition was awesome. They weren't, a Road Warriors clone or whatever. They were their own thing. And what are they? 3-time tag champions. One time it was for like a year. They beat Andre and Haku for the belts, just using the the kayfabe accomplishments on that. But I always thought they were awesome. They're one of my favorites. And it would be nice to see them going eventually. Axe and Smash, of course. We don't need to put Bryan Adams in.
No, come on.
Had you never seen the Road Warriors before?
I think I saw them in a magazine, but by that time, 1988 or something like that. So, I was younger.
So legit. So to you, the Demolition was the originals. Like, you didn't view them as a ripoff because you hadn't really seen the Road Warriors.
Right. Not until later.
Got it.
I was 6-7 years old when they came out. That's when I started looking at the WIs and the PWI Almanac and reading stuff like that when I was a kid. Then I kind of got it. And when they showed up at WWF, obviously they were the baby pieces, and I jumped sides quickly.
The funny thing is, I was like, probably like Lance, in that I shit on them when they first came to the WWE. But, like, if you go and watch their matches now, one of the best tag teams, when I was managing teams, I would go and watch their matches against anybody, how they came in and out of heat and everything, just to let, my teams have different ways of starting matches and stuff. Them, Midnight Express, Rock and Roll, stuff like that, they did a lot of matches different, so that was the fun part about Demolition. All right, JoJo, tell us all your stuff, because you always got something going on.
You can follow me on Twitter at JFFEENEY3RD, JF Feeney 3rd, and listen to me weekly on Keeping It 100 with Conan and on Creative Control. You know, I drop a show every now and then, so subscribe to that, and you'll get them when they drop.
All right. Lance, it's your turn.
All right. Well, I had to be outside the box a little bit here. So first off, the guy who's got to be out, I can't believe you guys didn't mention this guy already, but the guy who's got to come out of the Hall of Fame is James Dudley, the Vince's limo driver. As soon as you position this that we're going to, boot somebody out and put somebody in the Hall of Fame, that was the only name that came to mind. So I actually looked up this guy on Wikipedia, and it said he had various jobs in the WWF, including, and this is a direct quote, carrying buckets of water.
Wow.
I'm like, carrying buckets of water? How does that get – what is that even? Is it like Jack and Jill in the Hall of Fame?
That's a great job.
Wait,
and then he did everything from the water to counting ticket sales.
Hold on, Lance. JoJo's got something to say, I think.
Yeah, I might understand that this James Dudley guy is in, but Howard Finkel is not in, right?
I don't think he is.
Just clarifying that.
No, he's not.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
I don't think.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. So anyway, James Dudley had various jobs from carrying buckets of water, counting ticket sales, and then, of course, he became officially Vince's limo driver. So, and one of the other funny things that I saw and this is before I started watching WWF, was he was allegedly some form of Bobo Brazil's manager, but all he really did was wave a towel around when Bobo entered the ringside area. That was it. So anyway, James Dudley, one of the worst Dudley brothers of all time, so he's got to go.
Yeah.
So as far as who's in, it's ironic, BT, number one, that you mentioned the celebrity wing of the Hall of Fame, because the one that I want in is going into the celebrity wing of the Hall of Fame, and it is Joe Redner. And who, may you ask, is Joe Redner? Joe Redner is the owner of Mons Venus, the famous cultural dance establishment in Tampa, and he is known as being the father of the lap dance. And so this young man, Joe Redner, is 77 years young. He's run for office numbers of times in Tampa. He's never won, but he's fought for freedom of speech, freedom of expression battles in Tampa. So I say, who better into the Hall of Fame than the guy who gave us the best place to hang out after the cards, both for the boys and for the fans. So Joe Redner, the owner of Mons Venus in Tampa, goes into my Hall of Fame.
You said we would never pick the ones that you picked anyway, so
yeah,
it didn't fucking matter. Good.
That's true.
That's obscure, guys.
We didn't even know who they were.
I had to tell you who they were.
He has a bunch
bingo. We freaking. I'm smarter. My brain expanded as a result of this podcast. I'm a happy person.
That's right.
That's always our goal.
Hey, guys, we're going to get out of here. Thank you for joining us. We want to thank again Jeff Jarrett, Brian Thompson, JoJo Feeney, Lance LeVine. Hey, guys, join us same bat time, same bat channel. The best little wrestling podcast in the business. Now, love my mama. Be there. All right, Lance, who are you going to love?